Okay, guys, I just want to try to do this video as quickly as I can while still giving you some help in focusing your energies with respect to the study guide and preparing for 70% of the Unit 3 test. It will be focused on metaphysics. I need to, before I do anything else, is call your attention to the fact that I failed to make a distinction when it comes to where you get information about this part right here. Let me see if I can pull up a Word version. There we go, there's a Word version. So when it comes to these last two bullets itself, or no, it's when it comes to this bullet right here, this part is going to come from a different section. So for that part, okay, so what you just saw me typing is Freedom and Determinism, section 2.5. This will also be multiple choice, true, false, fill in the blank like this part. But I somehow had forgotten that this information is not in this section, but obviously in 2.5. So all of this will come from 2.0. All of this will come from 2.5. And just so you can see it, that includes all of these bullet points right here. So let me just do a quick overview of where you might find some of this information here. I'm going to redo my page size. Okay, so when it comes to the main concept and initial concerns and interest of the philosophers, you are going to, again, go to section 2.0. And you're going to start with your first answer. It's going to be within this first paragraph. That's where you'll find information relevant to the very first bullet under the heading Metaphysics in the Study Guide. Then when it comes to knowing the initial concerns or thoughts or foci of ancient Greek philosophers, you're going to find that in the section of 2.0 subtitled Charting the Terrain of Metaphysics. What are the issues? All you need to know is the gist of what they were interested in. So what questions does Lawhead express with respect to the ancients and what they were thinking about? What does he put in italics and whatnot? Okay, so let's go back to the study guide. Give me a second, my study guide has disappeared. Okay, so then after you jot down some notes about the questions and general topics that the ancient Greeks were interested in, you're going to continue to build and expand on what you know about metaphysicians and what kinds of things they're interested in. You're going to learn about more problems, issues, topics, questions, concepts, after that section about the ancient Greek philosophers and what they were interested in, but also the remainder of chapter 2, okay? So as you are preparing for the test, continue to take note of the kinds of things, the topics, the kinds of questions, the problems that metaphysicians are interested in. When it comes to the notion of God, you are going to see Lawhead talking about metaphysics at God at some point in section 2.0, so do look out for what he says about that. As you can see, you need to know the name for a problem or domain of metaphysics concerned with a particular kind of questioning or concern or topic. And so there's basically, in the test, I'm going to give you two sets of questions, and you have to know to what area or domain of metaphysics do the questions belong. And so I'm going to go ahead and give you the names, but then you have to know which questions go with which domains. And so one is called the mind. In fact, I'll show you where that is so you know where to look at the questions and figure out what questions go with what. But one is called the mind-body problem. You'll find information about the mind-body problem right here. So you see how far down I had to scroll, right? And that is under the same subsection that you find information about the Greeks. So under Charting the Terrain of the Metaphysics, you'll find stuff about the ancient Greeks, and then you'll find information about the mind-body problem. So you need to know what kinds of questions are of concern to those metaphysicians who are interested in the mind-body problem. Keep in mind that I might pluck out questions verbatim from this paragraph, or I might paraphrase them or augment them slightly. That said, the questions will still have enough wording and clues for you to know that they are questions concerning mind-body problem. Same thing with respect to freedom and determinism. So for the first topic that Lawhead goes on to explore in chapter 2, sections 2.1, 2, 3, and 4, that we do not focus on in this class, especially a summer class. Notice that I cut out 4 sections. That's lots of theories, lots of arguments. We don't focus on this, but I still think it's good to know that there is this other problem called the mind-body problem, and there's actually many more problems having to do with metaphysics that we don't even introduce. So many interesting ones that I sometimes teach, but that we're not learning about during a summer course. But the other topic is that which begins on 2.5 and is the focus of 2.5, 6, 7, and 8, and that is freedom and determinism. What I call the problem of causality in one aspect. I might give you that as an extra credit. So what did I say? What did I call a problem within this subheading of freedom and determinism? I have a lot of issues with how Lawhead organizes his discussion on freedom and determinism, but I'm not going to get into that. This is a summer class, so I'll leave out that lecture. But yeah, study the concern, foci, the questions that are of concern to philosophers when they're thinking about freedom and determinism. You'll need to be able to recognize on the test, or you might be able to, you might need to recognize or distinguish questions that are focused on the mind-body problem and from questions that are focused more on the topic of freedom and determinism. So what else do I want you to know? So I think the study guide, yes. So in the study guide for this section, you are told that you also need to know about the concepts of circumstantial freedom and metaphysical freedom, just the gist. Notice that they're both about freedom, so you don't want to be confused about that. So you make sure you know what distinguishes. I can't speak anymore. Circumstantial freedom from metaphysical freedom. They both have to do with freedom, so that doesn't distinguish the concepts. What does it mean to have freedom that is circumstantial? What does it mean to have freedom that is metaphysical? How do these two connect? And then in getting this information from 2.0, you'll also be getting information about monism, materialism, idealism, and ontology. What do these words refer to? Are they positions? Are they topics? Are they concepts? Are they theories? How do they connect? How do these concepts connect to each other? How do they compare and contrast in terms of their meanings or what they're about? And so in that part, you will get that information in those last 2 bullets for section 2.0 in this section. What are my options? So you can see the word monism, dualism, materialism. You see the word idealism and whatnot. Over here, and actually the meaning of ontology is a little bit further into 2.0. It's not in the same paragraphs as monism, materialism, and idealism. You have to scroll down quite a bit. Go down to the bottom line issue in metaphysics, and that's where you're going to find information about ontology and the meaning of the word in metaphysics. And then I realized I misspoke. So this item right here, circumstantial freedom and metaphysical freedom, that's going to be in 2.5. So that's where you'll get information about these terms. So when I talk about here, the 3 statements highlighted and used by Lawhead to organize your initial understanding of metaphysical concerns, I'm going to point you to that. And I'm going to point you to the part of 2.0 where I am telling you that you need to know about determinism, libertarianism, and compatibilism in relation to these 3 statements. So let's find these 3 statements that I keep referring to. All right, so here you have the overview of freedom and determinism. You're going to scroll down and then you'll start to find information that you need with respect to the study guide right here where it says conceptual tools, thinking about freedom. And then you need to go to the section choosing a path. What are my options concerning human freedom? These are the statements that I'm talking about. So then when I talk about, so you need to know that these are the statements that he uses to organize his discussion of some theories. I don't have you focusing on all theories. In fact, I think, well, you do focus on the major theories, but there's one theory within a theory that I didn't have you focus on in the study guide or don't have you focus on. And that has to do with libertarianism. I do have you focus on a kind of libertarianism called agency theory, but there's another kind called existentialism, but I'm not having you focus on that. So still, we've got these three statements right here. You need to know what they are, what they say, and then when I talk about, and then here you can see that he gets into the statements. What are the meaning? What's the meaning of the statements? What are the implications for the statements, especially if we endorse them? How does affirming one statement affect the logicalness of endorsing or affirming what is claimed in another statement? So make sure that you are really good with these statements and understand them. And so then he gives the three positions on freedom, determinism, and responsibility. So here we have hard determinism. So that is in that section 2.5 part of the study guide. So know what hard determinism is about, the gist, libertarianism, and then of course, I think he has compatibilism right there. So in terms of this part of the study guide, you need to know what each of these theories, what is their stance in relation to the three statements? Which of those statements do they affirm? Which of those statements do they deny?